Bobby again from Tuckasegee Fly Shop. Today we're going to jump into a knot video. I think we're going to do the Perfection Loop, which I've got one tied here. I just haven't trimmed the tag off. This is an important knot for making a loop on your line or the butt end of your leader, maybe to make that loop-to-loop connection. There's also a couple other instances that you could use it for, I'm sure, but that's probably the main one that you see. A lot of the leaders that you buy in fly shops that have a loop already tied on them, that's a Perfection loop in them. So it's a good knot to know just in case you need to use it when you're out on the water or something like that. Again, with knots, I think it's important that when you're sitting at the house or the cabin or something at night, you know, take some time, practice some knots. Just keep your old butt sections of leader. Once you've worn those down a little bit and they're somewhat, you could call trash, man, hang on to those, spin them up, throw them in your pack, use them to practice knots with. I think that's a great little tip just to, you know, kind of recycle something and get more use out of it. And it gives you an opportunity to just get better where you have less time on the water tying your knots. Let's jump into it and get the Perfection loop started. So the Perfection loop, again, this is a great knot for the butt end of your leader to attach to a fly line. So if you build leaders or you buy leaders that don't have this tied to it and you'd like to have a loop-to-loop connection, it's a good knot to know. So as with all knots, like I've said before, make sure you have plenty of tag end to work with. The worst thing to do is get to the end of the knot and be short-changed and not have enough to finish the knot, and it makes it really hard. So on this knot, I'm probably going to give myself, I don't know, close to 8 inches. We're going to start by rolling a loop into the line, and as you see, I'm taking the tag in and I'm going to lay it under the main part of the line here. So make sure you're going under and the tag end is facing yourself. And then I usually tighten this loop up a little bit just so I can get my fingers through it enough to grab a piece of line, because I'm going to have to do that towards the end of this knot. After we get that done, we actually go around that knot and form a second loop, and at this point right here, I usually just drag this tag in into my finger and thumb, and that gives me a place to hold it. So everybody see that. I want to make sure you see how that goes around the line and then you hold it and come through. Now the last step before you pull everything through is you actually take the tag in and you lay it. So it's important that you have a good hold on the tag end and you lay it through the 2 loops and grab it with the tip of your finger and thumb. And then at that point you're going to reach through the knot, grab the loop, the second loop, and pull it through that first loop. And I usually use my ring finger and palm and kind of cinch the knot up a little bit. And at that point, the knot's pretty much tied. You just got to give it a little moisture. I usually use a pair of hemostats to stick in the loop just to give me something to hold on to. And then I'll take the tag in and put it in my mouth. Cinch it down. And as you see, it's a good loop. So what I'm doing when I have this in my mouth, you can see where I bit it there. I actually have this in my mouth, or this with the hemostats, this piece in my teeth, and I use my second hand, and I pull on that. So I consider my mouth a third hand when I'm tying knots. So hemostats in the loop, or you could use a nail knot tool, or maybe the end of your nippers, or anything you got like that, that's just kind of a nice object that'll fit in the loop. Grab this with your teeth, and then just pull all 3. You're going to pull the loop, pull the standing end and the tag end, and you create the loop knot. And then when you trim this, you don't want to trim it exactly flush. It's nice to have a little bit. And the reason for that is sometimes this thing wants to pull a little bit and it'll suck that little bit of tag that you left on there. So it's nice to have just a smidge, not a lot, just a little bit, like a 1/16 of an inch is plenty. So I mentioned that this is good for doing a loop-to-loop connection. So I was just going to show you kind of what that looks like. I have another one that I tied a little earlier in some different color line. So you can easily just slide your leader over. Pretend that this red one's your fly line and this is your leader. If you lay this over the fly line so that my leader, the green piece of line, is hanging on my fly line, and then you actually take the tip of your leader and pass it through the loop of your fly line. And this creates a nice little, what I call the handshake loop. So as you can see, it almost looks like a figure 8 in a way, and then you've got a nice little loop knot. And the beauty of this is when you go to change out a leader, it's like kind of a little jam knot, man. You can just kind of work it back and it comes right apart, but it stays super strong together when you put it together like this. So it's a great way to do a little knot. So nice easy way. Perfection loop, great knot, fairly easy to tie. You just got to remember to do a couple steps in the right pattern to get it right. And if you got any questions about this knot, obviously reach out to us. Happy to show you this. Check out our online store, flyshopusa.com. Visit all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. Appreciate you watching this video.